Imagine selling a property and making $100,000 in profit, only to find out that the IRS wants a huge chunk of it. But what if I told you there are simple, legal ways to slash that tax bill or even eliminate it altogether? In this Chalkboard Real Estate investing video, I'll explain how real estate capital gains taxes really work with a specific example and share 3 proven strategies to keep more money in your pocket and less in the greedy hands of the IRS. Let's get right into it. First, let's clarify what capital gains even are. A capital gain is basically the profit you make when you sell an asset for more than you paid for it. This concept applies to any asset, but in real estate specifically, it applies to sales of office buildings, shopping centers, rental properties, primary residences, and even land. When you sell real estate for more than you paid for it, you get to subtract from the gain that you made certain costs like closing costs, commissions, and the money you spent improving the property. But you also have to add back in any depreciation you claimed while you own the property. After you factor in all of these items, what's left over is your taxable gain. Now, I know it sounds a little abstract, so let's break it down with a visual example. Let's say you bought a rental property for $100,000 5 years ago. At the time you bought it, you paid $5,000 in closing costs. Then, over the 5 years of owning it, you made major improvements totaling $20,000. You also claimed depreciation against the property over 5 years, totaling $16,363. If you want to learn more about what depreciation is and how it's calculated, check out a video I recently posted on that topic, which I'll link up in the end card to this video. After 5 years, you decide to sell and you find a buyer who's willing to buy it from you for $200,000. What amount of this $200,000 is going to be considered capital gain by the IRS? Well, let's do the math following the formula we outlined. $200,000 sale price minus $100,000 purchase price minus $5,000 closing costs minus $20,000 capital improvements plus $16,363 depreciation recapture. For the sake of simplicity, let's assume that the buyer pays for your closing costs at the time of sale, so we don't need to subtract those in this example. The resulting number comes to $91,363. Now, how much tax you will actually pay on this gain depends on a lot of factors. The first is whether you held this property for less than or more than 1 year. In this hypothetical, you held it for more than 1 year. But if you had sold that property for $200,000 after owning it for less than a year, you'd be hit with what are called short-term capital gains taxes. And short-term capital gains taxes are taxed at your ordinary income tax rate, which could be as high as 37% on the federal level alone. But if you hold the property for more than 1 year, you're rewarded with a much lower long-term capital gains tax rate, typically 0%, 15%, or 20% depending on your total income. Now, how do those rates work exactly? Here's a general idea. As of 2025, if your total taxable income, including any capital gains, is relatively low, roughly $48,350 or less if you're single, or $96,700 or less if you're married filing jointly, you might qualify for a 0% capital gains tax rate. If your income falls between $48,350 and $533,000 if you're single, or between $96,700 and $600,000 if you're married filing jointly, you will pay the 15% capital gains tax rate. And if your income is even higher, above those top thresholds, you pay the 20% rate on any additional gains. And keep in mind, these thresholds can adjust slightly every year based on inflation. Now let's walk through a quick example of how these percentages would apply with specific numbers, taking our hypothetical rental property sale from earlier. Let's assume your tax filing status is single. And let's say all of your other taxable income, meaning income from your job or business, not including the sale of this property, is about $80,000. And from the sale of your property, you have a capital gain of $91,363. How does capital gains tax get calculated in this case? First, your $80,000 of other income already pushes you above the 0% bracket, since it's greater than $48,350. So you would not get any part of your gain taxed at 0%. Instead, your capital gain would fall into the 15% bracket, since the capital gain combined with your regular income, which comes to just over $171,000, is above $48,350, but below $533,000. Meaning the entire $91,363 capital gain would be taxed at a 15% federal capital gains rate. So $91,363 multiplied by 15% equals about $13,704 in federal capital gains taxes. If your other taxable income added up to less than $48,350, say $40,000, then about $8,350 of the $91,363 capital gain would be taxed at 0%. Now that's just federal tax. Depending on where you live, you might also owe state capital gains taxes, which vary by state. And of course, everyone's situation is different. How much you owe could depend on deductions you claim, filing status, state taxes, and even things like the net investment income tax for higher earners. Lastly, tax laws are constantly changing, so definitely consult with a qualified tax professional to get advice that's specific to your situation. So the first and easiest way to lower your capital gains taxes is simple. Hold the property for at least 1 year. Just cross that 12-month mark before selling, and you qualify for long-term capital gains tax rates. Strategy number 2, if you live in the property for at least 2 of the last 5 years before you sell, you may not owe any capital gains taxes at all, up to a pretty generous limit. As of now, you can exclude up to $250,000 of profit if you're single, or $500,000 if you're married filing jointly. However, there's one caveat. This exclusion only applies to the part of the property you are occupying as a primary residence. So for example, in a situation where you house hack a duplex where you live in one unit for 2 of the last 5 years and rent out the other unit to tenants for the entire 5 years before selling, only half of your capital gains is eligible for the exclusion. The 2 years don't have to be continuous. They just need to add up to 2 years within the past 5. But there may be some further limitations on the exclusion. So consult a qualified CPA for details. But it's good to know that this is an option and you would get some tax relief even if you didn't occupy the property continuously in the previous 5 years. Strategy number 3, the 1031 exchange. This is like the secret weapon of real estate investors against the IRS. A 1031 exchange lets you sell a property, and as long as you reinvest the proceeds into another like-kind property, you can defer capital gains taxes. Some investors take advantage of this strategy repeatedly until they die. They sell one property, roll the profits into another bigger property. After a few years or decades of appreciation, do it again, and then do it again. At the time of their death, the property they last purchased gets the benefit of something called the stepped-up basis, after which the investor's heirs may not have to pay any taxes at all. It's like telling the IRS, hey, I'm not cashing out yet. I'm just swapping one investment for another. And then a bunch of years later saying, maybe we just call it even and you don't charge me anything at all, okay? Pretty wild, but currently completely legal. There are some strict rules though. 1, it has to be an investment property. You can't do this with a primary residence. 2, the replacement property has to be like kind. You can't swap a 2-family rental property for a McDonald's franchise, for example. 3, you have to identify the replacement property within 45 days. 4, you have to close on that replacement property within 180 days. And 5, you have to use a qualified intermediary to hold the money between deals. But if done correctly, it's one of the most powerful wealth-building tools in real estate. I know I said there were just 3 strategies for avoiding capital gains taxes, but I also have a quick bonus tip for you. Whenever you make capital improvements, things like adding a new roof, building a deck, upgrading the HVAC system, and so on, you can increase your property's tax basis. A higher tax basis means a lower taxable gain when you sell. You should always take advantage of this to the fullest extent. Just make sure to keep great records. Not every repair counts. It needs to improve the property's value or extend its life, but this is another great way to reduce that tax hit when you do decide to sell. So to wrap it up, real estate gives you amazing opportunities to not just build wealth, but keep more of it. Understand the rules, use the right strategies, and you can pay way less in taxes, or maybe even none at all. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button, subscribe for more chalkboard-style real estate breakdowns, and if you want to learn more about real estate depreciation, watch this video next. Tap or click the screen, and I'll see you there.